Hey guys, welcome to Fergie Time. Today I have a fun episode for you. Brooke Hawkins, she's otherwise known as Bad and Bougie, and she is just blowing up right now. She's doing so many cool things with her Jeep, her multiple Jeeps. She's got a Baddie mobile, Burnout Baddie, Beach Baddie, all that. It's exciting, and just hearing her talk about that and just what she does in her work life and all that good stuff, how she balances it. So hopefully you get something from it, and subscribe. Guys, Fergie Time. Today I have a fun episode. Who knows where we're gonna end up going, but Brooke Hawkins, Bad and Bougie in the house. And Brooke, yeah, we were talking before, you're just blowing up. It's awesome. I read your article from Fast Girls
Go Fast Girls, yeah.
Go. I was reading the article, and just you're talking about how you were in Jeeping, then you got out of Jeeping because you started Instagram, and I kind of remember when, not you were a small account, but smaller than you are now, and it just boomed. So just, I don't know, give us a little backstory, kind of what you were doing before, why you got out, and now you're back. What's going on?
I grew up in the off-road and just the motorsport industry as a whole. I grew up racing quads. I grew up in stock cars.
In Florida, or?
No, in Ohio. So I'm from Ohio originally. It's just one of those things that the weekends, Saturdays were spent at the dirt track, Sundays were spent on the pavement. We were always chasing the next NASCAR race. Myself, stock car racing. Just my love for the Mopar brand itself comes from my grandmother, who worked for Jeep and Chrysler for over 46 years. Me personally, I've never owned any other vehicle. So for me, it's just something that it was always something that was bred within me. That's how I was brought up. It's funny because I love the mud. I loved being outside and playing. I always dreamt of playing football. I hated the color pink. Pink was the worst color on the face of the earth. My favorite color was blue. I never wore makeup. I cut my hair really, really short. None of what you see today existed prior to the age of 18 years old. I was always very much involved in athletics growing up my entire life. And I eventually went off, was a college athlete, and then, had children, got married, and kind of those responsibilities of motherhood. And my husband at the time was in the Army, so we were traveling all over the world for that matter too. And I was working with the Department of Defense, and it's hard to continue a hobby, whatever motorsport industry you're involved in, whether that's Jeeping or racing quads or side-by-sides, whatever that may be. It's hard to take that hobby with you to places like South Korea or Germany, or even keeping it stateside in hopes that it's going to be good 5 or 6 years when you return back to wherever you're at. It felt like the right time for me to grow up. It was kind of like I got bored. I'm a mother, yes, but you have to have a balance in life as a parent too, and enjoying yourself. When I was no longer competing as a college athlete, and I was just working or going to school, playing mom at home, I wasn't finding that hobbyist side of me that I once had, whether that was through any of those things that I mentioned. Fast forward to COVID, I traded in my best Jeep I've ever built, owned. I'm still kicking my ass to this day for getting rid of it. It was a 2009. It was a taupe colored JK. 257,000 miles on that thing. And it never saw the dealership once. I kept saying, I'm not gonna wheel this thing anymore. It's time for me to I had been driving it around. I never got rid of it. At the time I had 2 children. I'm like, I need to get a different vehicle. And that's when the 4xe came out. Obviously if we all remember what COVID looked like in the couple of years after, the used car market was a hot commodity. People were getting top dollar for their used vehicles because there was no new vehicles coming out off the line. I had a really, really good offer, what I thought was a good offer at the time for what I had invested into it. I sold it and I turned around and put it down on a 4xe. I said, I am not lifting this. I'm not putting anything aftermarket on it, nothing. I babied the heck out of it. Fast forward to Jeep Beach. I went with my stock Jeep and I I went into to go to the off-roading course, and I'm like, why did I do this? What the hell am I doing? Like, I see everybody else around me, and I'm like, I messed up. I messed up a year and a half, 2 years ago when I bought my Jeep. I'm like, I am kicking myself in the butt. Luckily for me, with my grandmother's history, I get a really, really good family discount with Stellantis and the Dodge brands or the Mopar brands. I saw the One Touch top at Jeep Beach. I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I had just started recovering from my 5th shoulder surgery at the time. I'm like, this is perfect. All I have to do is press a button. I don't have to lift anything up, nothing. I literally came back 2 days later. I called my grandmother's rep that has always helped us buy all of our vehicles. I said, I gotta find this. I will never forget. He said, well, I found you one and it's in St. Petersburg. I'm like, oh my God, it's really close. I'm like, that's 30, 40 minutes away. He's like, but it's yellow. And I'm like, excuse me? And he's like, it's bright yellow. And I'm like, okay, I'm not interested. He goes, well, just humor me, go over and check it out and let me know what you think. I came home with a car. In my head, Brooke's not gonna modify anything else. 2 days later, I met up with some of my neighbors here in the community. They had started a Facebook page. I met up with all of them, like, oh, we're going wheeling. I'm like, okay, let's go. And with my little stock Jeep, we got there. I full sent it immediately. I mean, I broke it in. I was like, this is it. This is it. And so my friend's like, oh, we're gonna post that video on Instagram. We have Instagrams for our Jeeps. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why? Who does that? I'm like, let me see. And so I was looking at their posts or looking at the people that they follow and interact with, and I'm like, this is so cool. I had a personal Instagram, but just like Facebook, I use it to keep up with family and friends from,
Sure.
high school and see who's arrested and who's in trouble these days. I had some FOMO, some fear of missing out. And I went home that night and I created an Instagram. So it's been about 18 months now since I created it. The intention behind me creating my Instagram was really just to see same reason why people create TikToks if that aren't content creators. I just wanted to see what people were doing and the cool new products or events like Jeep Beach or Jeep Invasion, and just seeing what this community truly was about, because I never really had engaged to that extent, finding that sense of community too, because I was still semi-new to Florida at the time, and it was just a way to kind of throw myself back out there. And I just wanted to find a place that I could kind of be myself.
So 18 months ago, you got the yellow Jeep, and then was it the last 3 months, 4 months, 5 months where you just started massively overhauling it?
I did a complete rebuild starting in December of 2024. So I spent a solid month and a half to 2 months with Ernie's Custom Shop up in Vernon Hills, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. I had companies reaching out to me, but for me, it's a very personable relationship. I want it to reciprocate. And I'm not one of those people that I'll accept every company that comes into my DMs or reaches out to me. I want to make sure that, it's going to be reciprocated. I want to make sure that the people that I'm telling the product about to, that I'm giving my full honest opinion, because the last thing I want to do is say, hey, go get this lift kit, or go get this steering, or you should go get these control arms from this company, not have any experience using them, and then they go buy it, it fails, and then I look like not the subject matter expert, oh, you gave me really bad advice. It was in the works for some time, and I kind of wrapped everything up right after SEMA and signed on for some deals and got some really, really good companies I get to work with every day. So it's exciting. Well, first it started with the steering. So Steer Smarts had reached out to me, and I was like, I had actually been looking at them. They were one of my top options when I was kind of looking at my go-to. If anybody knows me, I work in finance. I love Excel spreadsheets. So they were on one of my top Excel spreadsheet tabs for my steering options. And they had actually reached out to me right after SEMA. And I was like, well, hell, if I'm going to do my steering, I really need to narrow down my suspension. TerraFlex had come out with a brand new 4xe kit. And that's something that's a really hot commodity right now for 4xes, because you have to have a very specific, a specific kit for that matter, that has the durability for these 4xes, because they're very, very, very heavy vehicles with the battery. So that leads me to Revolution gear and axle. You know, when you add all of that weight, I mean, if you think about your Jeep as stock, adding all of that weight obviously is going to significantly impact vehicle's optimal performance. And people don't realize that and think about that. They immediately think, oh, I got to 37s, I should re-gear, which with newer Jeeps, you don't have to. But like if you're jumping up in tire size, that's not the only thing that's affecting it. It's your roof racks, it's your steel bumpers, it's your steel bumper in the back. It's everything that you're adding to your vehicle. So Revolution works very, very closely with Ernie's shop, but they had actually chatted me last year at Jeep Beach, and they had known that I was working on this big project with Ernie, and so they're like, yeah, we want to, we want to get in and work with you. Fittipaldi is a great partner.
So what gears did you go with?
I went with 513. So when I had jumped up to 37s originally with the mud kickers, those are some heavy tires. Heavy. I didn't re-gear. I didn't feel the need to re-gear. My vehicle still performed very, very well. With newer Jeeps, you really don't need to re-gear if you're going to 37s. I would say 40 and higher, you should re-gear.
What'd you do for your brake?
I went with R1 Concept. They have been wonderful. And they're going on the Burnout Jeep too. They're doing the Burnout Jeep and they're doing the Beach Baddie too.
What about the axle?
So I had Dana 44s on the front and the back, so I left those. But what we did was Eaton Performance worked with us, and we put some limited slip in the back. Now the Burnout Jeep, we went with a Curry axle in the back. So shout out to.
So you've got the yellow Jeep, and what's that one called?
So originally the name was Bad and Bougie. One time I was doing a Facebook or Instagram live, and I referred to it as the Baddie Mobile, and then it stuck. And so I've been referring to it as the Baddie Mobile.
So is the Baddie Mobile done, and you're going to focus on so you get the Baddie Mobile, then the Burnout Baddie?
The Burnout Baddie.
Burnout Baddie.
Or as Ernie calls it, Bob.
Bob. So that's a TJ, right?
That's a CJ, which is a big controversy in the CJ space right now, because the title on this Jeep says a 1976 Jeep CJ7. The original OEM, nobody has ever touched it. We bought this Jeep from the original owner. The emblem CJ7 is on the back of the Jeep. The way the wheel wells are, people are constantly telling us, that's not a CJ7, that's not a CJ7, that's a CJ5, it's a I think people keep saying it's like a 1985 or a 1986 CJ. The title says this. And so that has been stirring up a lot of debate. Flip side to that is, so two other points then too. People do not like it when you refer to the civilian Jeep or the CJ as a Jeep Wrangler. That is not a Jeep Wrangler. And my intentions of this Jeep specifically, the Burnout Baddie, we knew that we were going to upset people anyway, because we took a perfectly framed chassis. Everything about this is in immaculate condition. It's a vintage vehicle. And we already knew that we were going to upset a lot of Jeep enthusiasts just by tearing it apart completely and doing something really ridiculous like burn tires. When I made my video announcing this is what we're doing to the Jeep, I intentionally kept throwing stuff in there because I knew clickbait, people get upset. People are like, that's not what that is. And it's so funny because today, out of nowhere, some 29,000 follower account that focuses on CJs reposted that reel. And he shared it to his story. He's like, somebody please stop these people from destroying this CJ5. These people don't know what they're doing. I'm like, yes, it's working. We're creating chaos. And I'm like, that's what I want. Because I love defying the odds. I like doing things different. I hate norms. And so with this, that was the goal of it.
I saw you're going to unveil it next Wednesday or...
It would be next Friday and Saturday and Sunday at Mopar Heaven.
What's going to go down there?
We got to finish the vehicle first. We're in a tight timeline right now, but we plan to leave Chicago Thursday morning. We're going to put the Baddie Mobile and the Burnout Baddie on a trailer, and we're going to haul butt down to Texas Motor Speedway. Mopar Heaven, I can't do it justice in describing it, but it is a place for Mopar enthusiasts alike, whether you are Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, whatever vehicle, you are Mopar or no car, you're part of the Mopar militia and mafia. So it's a 3-day car event. It starts Friday with Mopar Ignited. It's a private event. It's a ticket event. You have to own a Mopar. You have to be with the vehicle. Nobody can just come in. It's very private. And then on Saturday is the actual event at Texas Motor Speedway. I don't want to say it's similar to Jeep Beach, but it's at a speedway. It's at Texas Motor Speedway. They'll have vendors. They'll do track laps. There's going to be a drift pit or a drift track. There's going to be a burnout pit. There's going to be awards, really, really high profile builders there, tons of SEMA builds. And so really it's just a place for Mopar enthusiasts to get all of their cars together in one place. And it's cool to see the difference between a Mopar enthusiast within the Charger or the Challenger community versus maybe somebody within the rock crawler part of the industry or even the mall crawlers, because there's plenty of those out there. But it's just cool to be able to get all of those builds together and be able to kind of, just feed off of each other's car passion for that matter. But the point of me going to Mopar Heaven, so last year I was at Roadkill Nights, which is a huge event put on by Dodge up in Detroit at the M1 Concourse off of Woodward Avenue. And if you're a car enthusiast, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially up in the Motor City. I was invited by the founders of Mopar Heaven to bring what was only at the time the Baddie Mobile, and invited me down as a guest influencer. And then myself and those folks, we got back together later in the fall last year, and I was kind of like giving them ideas of like, I'm getting the itch to build something. I'm getting bored. And then I went to SEMA, and then all of a sudden we're rebuilding the Baddie Mobile, and then we're building the Burnout Baddie. And then so I reconnected back with them. I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. They're like, oh my gosh, you have to come unveil it here. So we kind of came up with some ideas, and what we plan to do is this thing is not going to be revealed at all whatsoever. Kind of like how I did the Baddie Mobile. I was kind of doing bits and pieces here and there, kind of giving people a little bit of a taste, but not too much. But this has been a 30-day build. There hasn't been a lot of time to really post in-depth content about it anyways. We're gonna keep it completely under lock and key. The first of its viewing will be at Mopar Heaven, and then I'll be in the Burnout Pit with my race suit with the cool helmet, and there's a few people that I promised rides to in the passenger seat, which is going to be a lot of fun. My little brother is actually going to be flying down and coming with us, and it should be a good time. What we're doing is so unique and one of its kind. I do think people are going to start replicating after we have it done. I have no doubt. It's different. And I think it's a way for me to explore a different avenue of the motorsport industry as well, because I love Jeeps. Jeeps have been obviously in my family my entire life. When I think about like social media, for instance, a lot of it just gets oversaturated. And for me, like I mentioned earlier, I want to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to stand apart from my peers. And that's just what makes me and unique. I'm not out here looking for the attention. I just want to be myself and be crazy Brooke like everybody sees me to be. And so I think this is going to be a great way for me to pivot into more, I say exotic builds, but like what I'm going to be doing with the TJ is nothing crazy, but at the same time, there's going to be some really, really unique aspects about it. And people will see it at Jeep Beach because I'm not going to reveal it until I take it to Jeep Beach. But there's going to be really unique things about it that have never been done in a Jeep before, or at least advertised. And so I think if I could have different facets within my garage that I'm like, oh, I want to go take the Beach Baddie out today, or oh, I'm going to go to the drift pits today. We're going to take the Burnout Baddie, or we're just going to maybe go off-roading, but we'll probably hit the mall. We'll take the Baddie mobile. It's just, I like having my options and keeping things different.
I wasn't sure if you were getting into racing again, or...
I would love to. I remember going to King of the Hammers when I was younger, and I always said, I'm doing this. Like, I am going to go out there. I want to do this. Like, this is my jam. I love that wild, crazy crap. Like, that's some good stuff. Like, it's fun. But I tell you what, that King of the Hammers, and depending on what class you get into, you're looking at a $200,000 vehicle. It is not, nothing about a car hobby is cheap, regardless of what industry you're involved in. If I were to design like a pre-runner, if you will, or build a pre-runner, I could probably absolutely see myself racing again. Oh, absolutely. If Casey Curry asked me to sit passenger with him all day, I would raise his hand and say absolutely yes. Or if Dustin Jones said, sit with me passenger in my Can-Am, oh, I'd be right on it. I love that adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I love being out in the dirt and the mud.
But you're not going to win $200,000.
No. I was reading something. This is like I was saying, this is a very expensive hobby. We're not in it to make that money back. That's how the motorsport industry is. A lot of people keep asking me, why are you building a burnout Jeep? What a waste of money. What a waste of time. There's a lot of travel involved. Like, why would you put this much effort into it? And it's like, why not? Why does Linda cross stitch on the weekends and spend like $500 on fabric? Just to have her little box of all of her knittings or whatever. It's just whatever, is going to make you happy at the end of the day. And for me, adrenaline makes me happy. Being behind the driver's seat makes me happy. That's just what's fun.
Does being in the garage working on it make you happy? Because it almost seems like you're there more than actually behind the wheel.
It's very true. There's not a lot of wheeling options here in Florida, I will say that, and most of it is muddy terrain and swamp. So there's not a lot of options here in Florida at all whatsoever. We do have to travel, but we travel well. This is
a great. Do you have time for a job in the middle of all this?
Do I?
And kids.
The problem with me is I like to go. I can't ever not be busy. I have a complete oasis in my backyard, and I'll have a complete Sunday by myself, or nothing going on, and I'll be sitting by the pool for 30 minutes. I'm like, yep, I'm up. What are we doing? I can't just sit here and enjoy this. I need to be doing something. I travel a lot for my job. And so it's just a matter of time management.
I'm ready for it. It's gonna be
fun. Well, if anybody follows Arctic Mojave, Dan, he works for Ernie's Custom Shops. He does all of the social media. He does all the photos and the videography, everything for the shop. So it's fun because Dan and I have grown really close over the last year and working together in conjunction with Ernie's shop. And it's so fun watching, his builds progress. His wife just got a Jeep, so watching her build progress and just being creative. It's fun. You find your people and you hold on to those people that you build those genuine relationships with. And I'm very lucky and very thankful nonetheless to the group of folks that I have, especially at Ernie's shop, that are just...
How'd you get connected with the Ernie shop?
At Jeep Invasion, I was driving around what was the Minion Jeep at the time. It was this JL. It was like mustardy yellow. He's going to kill me for even using the term mustard yellow, but it was a yellow color, a Minion yellow color. On 42s, had a yellow interior, the whole nine. And so I was driving that around at Jeep Invasion, and a month later, and I get a text from Ernie, and he's like, we need to talk about your seats. And I'm like, my seats? He's like, your pink seats, I want them. And I'm like, those are my pink seats. Nobody's taking my pink seats. He's like, I gotta have them. He's a girl's dad. He has 2 girls. And he's like, I am rebuilding this Jeep that you were driving at Jeep Invasion. I'm rebuilding it for SEMA. And I think we're gonna go pink. And I said, oh, well, you've come to the right person, my friend. I designed his interior for his Jeep on that build. And then we stayed connected all through that. SEMA came and went. And a couple of days after SEMA, I was on my way to New York City. Talk about work-life balance. And I texted him, I was like, I'm building a Jeep. I'm building a Burnout Jeep. Now, I don't even think it was a week later. It was about 2 weeks later. I get a text out of the blue. I got you a chassis. And I was like, what? He's like, I have a chassis. I'm like, a chassis for what? Like, you're being so vague right now. What are we talking about? And he's like, call me. And so that call turned into the chassis, and then it turned into rebuilding the Baddie mobile. And we have an addiction, to say the least. That man has like 11 cars. Hanging out with him and the rest of the guys at the shop, because I'm the only girl there that's like in the shop with them. They're all car enthusiasts. Every time I'm like, oh, I should buy that. I'm like, oh yeah, you should go buy that. Like, oh, no
one's there to be like, no,
you should not do that.
Stop.
There's somebody here in Orlando that saw my Jeep and is shipping his Jeep up to him currently to have him work on it. He does it all the time. The connection that Ernie and I have from a design perspective, we can relate on a lot of different levels. Like, we have a lot of like the same interests as far as, parts and components and the engineering of it. We mesh very well with that versus, he likes to build beastly vehicles, but he also likes to make them very aesthetically pleasing. And, anybody that's ever been inside of Ernie's custom shop knows that that's not just any hole in the wall shop. He takes pride in the work that he does, and for me, that's important as a build partner.
Being an athlete, you're always looking for that competitive outlet. Is that what Jeeping is for you? Is that what all this is for you? As far as like I know you're just being Brooke, just being you, but I don't know, don't you want to like go out there and just like crush it and just like...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course. I've always been competitive. I always had to have the best whatever. I threw in college, so I had to have the best brand discus. I had to go to the best throwing camps. I had to do the top of the line everything because I wanted to be good. I wanted to win. And if you're not first, you're last. I like recognition? Yes. I think everybody does. And I think anybody that says otherwise, I think they're lying. It's not bad to get a pat on the back and being told good job. And I think that's why I'm
absolutely.
in the line of work that I'm in. I would do it without the pat on the back in the work that I do, because it's very meaningful and wholesome to me. It fills my cup. And the same with this too. When I've explained, my design concept and like what the engineering is going to be like in the Burnout Baddie, for instance, there's always going to be a naysayer. Why aren't you doing a blower? Or why aren't you doing this? Or, does that make sense? Or you shouldn't have used that axle. Or, there's always going to be naysayers that always have something to say about your build, because it's not theirs, it's not their idea, or it's not their money. I think that fuels my fire to want to keep doing more. I mean, if anybody's putting effort into anything, they're obviously gonna wanna see the return on investment. I look at people that build rock crawlers or, my Jeep, for instance. There's a lot of components and money into that vehicle. If I wanna go to Moab, I can absolutely go to Moab. That's not why I specifically built it that way. It could handle it, yes, but I'm not out here trying to build the best car or have the best motor. I'm out here to prove that it can be done if you want to do it. As a female and a woman in this space specifically, even in my athletic days, there's always going to be people that are going to underestimate you. We are in a very male-dominated field. I worked with the Department of Defense, a very male-dominated field. I was a cop for a year and a half. very male-dominated field. Breaking barriers and stereotypes is super important to me, and I get that from my grandmother. My grandmother, worked in obviously a very, very, very male-dominated field her entire career, and for her, she's the exact opposite of me when it comes to wanting to do better, or wanting to prove a point, or get the last word in, or I'm going to do this like the Burnout Jeep. I'm going to do this because I want to, stir up some chaos, if you will. She's the exact opposite. She sort of like embraced her position and where she was at in society and in her career, and just did it. Didn't ask for any recognition or any favors in return. And I think for me, seeing that my entire life, it's very humbling. There's times where I have to kind of remind myself to think of her, because she did it just because she needed to get a paycheck and that she loved doing what she did. I do that because it makes me really happy. I enjoy doing it. Short answer, yes, I'm always going to be competitive in nature. I'm always going to want the better thing. I'm always going to want to be the first person to do something and be a leader and not a follower, because that's what I was told to do my entire life. You never want to be a follower. But I don't want to come off that way either. I don't want to be pompous. I don't want to act like I'm better than everybody else. That's not my vibe. I see where I'm at in my career and in this journey. I don't have 100,000 followers. I don't even have 15,000 followers. But what I do have is a really, really great community that has empowered me to want to continue to grow. And I want to be able to do the same for other women.
What's the biggest challenge women face in off-road motorsports?
The immediate answer to that is just women in vehicles in general. They always say like one of the scariest places for a woman to go to is to go get her oil changed, because what are they going to sell you? I hate stereotypes. God, I hate them so much. And I think social media has made it very, 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 very difficult to wanting to prove a point, if you will. Like, I've seen some Instagram pages where these women intentionally act like they don't know what they're talking about, that they're ditzes, or conforming to the stereotypes of which exist around women and the automotive industry. But then on the flip side of that, you look at LB Motorsports' Instagram page or Go Fast Girls, and you see these really powerful women. They may have 30 followers, they may have 30,000 or 300,000, but they're out there underneath of their vehicles, changing their oils, building a transmission, doing an engine swap, powder coating wheels. They're doing all of these things that a lot of men wouldn't expect women to know how to do. I try to influence women in the automotive industry. I try to influence people to buy the right products and educate themselves. There's a lot of women that are in the Jeep community that want to learn how to off-road or how to do these things, and it should be okay. It should be a safe place. It shouldn't be a competition.
What's some of your advice for that?
Do it. Just do it. Like, Nike style, just do it. One thing that I tell my transitioning service members is, if you want a job here, go get a job. It's not my job or anybody else's job to do the hard work for you. If there's something that you're after, something that you're interested in, something that you're curious about, do your homework, do your research, put in the time. It's probably gonna take some money, and put in the effort. I say this all the time, and it's something I very, very strongly live by, and it's why my career is where it is today. That's why I have built very successful programs, and I've helped a lot of people. Closed mouths do not get fed, period. Period. I sign my emails with that. They don't get fed. If there's something that you wanna know and you have questions, ask them. That may be a stupid question to somebody else, but there's probably 5 other women watching that post or in that live feed or standing next to you at a Jeep event that were probably wondering the same thing, but didn't have the courage or were scared to ask. I'm gonna say a product. Like, if there's a product that you don't like, you have experience using that product, and you don't think that that's a good idea for somebody to use, and you have the confidence to say it, tell that person, no, I wouldn't suggest that lift kit, and here's why. Because then you just help somebody else maybe save $1 for putting a really, really cheap lift kit on. I cannot tell you how many women I get in my inbox that just reach out to me to say, hey, I love your content. I wish I could be like you. I always kind of cringe at those for a couple of reasons, because what do you see about me that makes you want to be like me or do what I'm doing? What is it? How can I help? Because perception's not always reality, my friend. It may look like I'm having all this fun building vehicles and wheeling and racing and doing burnouts and going on lives, but there's a lot of chaos in the background that you don't see. I want to get deeper than that. Like, if they felt the confidence enough to reach out to me and say, oh, I wish I could do what you're doing. You absolutely can, because I sure as hell didn't think I was going to be here. This was not in my plan. It helps that I'm a public speaker by trade, and that's kind of like what my profession is, but closed mouths don't get fed. And you have to be willing to put the hard work and effort into it. I see a lot of people that get involved in this, social media, even just this industry, that want to do it for the money, and it's not genuine. It's not genuine, and me and many other people can see it from a mile away. I personally don't want to sound like a scripted instructional manual reading off of a product description and saying, hey, buy this product, buy my helmet. It keeps you safe, and these are the specs. That's not my style. I want people to want to engage with me. I want people to be themselves and be comfortable and use this as an outlet, because this is exactly what I've done. And I think that's what people appreciate that have stuck around with me thus far, is they can appreciate my authenticity and for me being me. And if that can encourage other women to do the same, then I will feel like I did something, and I can, check my box for, filling my cup for that day. It doesn't always have to be big wins. It's little things that really do add up big at the end of the day. Women are vulnerable. We always have been, and we probably always will be. And maybe it's just because I'm a loud mouth, and sometimes I just don't care what people say nor think about me. And this has allowed me the opportunity to be me. This is an outlet for me. This is somewhere where I can be myself.
Rapid fire. You ready?
Sure. Oh gosh.
If you could take any celebrity wheeling for a day, who would it be and why?
Cardi B. Just because her energy definitely matches mine. I feel like she has a lot of the same mannerisms as I do. So it would probably be really, really, really crazy and really hilarious.
What's the best oops moment you've had while off-roading?
I was up north, Florida, near Ocala, wheeling. And if you own a 4xe, you know that you cannot do donuts in it. You cannot. You just can't. And it had rained the day before, and it's nothing but clay up there. So it's really hard to estimate how deep those holes are in the rivets. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do a donut. I'm gonna go, whip this thing around. I almost had it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting this. I'm beating the system here on this stupid Jeep. I came around to passenger, and I dropped off into a rivet, but I did it twice, deep enough to my top of my rear fender, and I snapped my bearing, my hub.
Favorite time of the day?
Evening for sure. I love the evening. Sunset hours specifically. I love, especially in Florida, sunsets in Florida, golden hour are amazing. And I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person. Ask any guy at the shop. I say I'm going to be there at 6 a.m. and I come strolling in at 9 or 9:30 with my Starbucks, and like, wow, nice of you to join us.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Probably teleport, because believe it or not, I hate driving. Which is the exact opposite of Ernie and the rest of the guys. They love being on the road. Oh no. But next week when they're hauling both of my vehicles down to Mopar Heaven, I will be on a flight to Texas. I cannot sit in a car. I am not a good car person at all whatsoever.
If your life had a theme song,
What
song would it be?
I told everybody at the shop, I'm like, I gotta have an entry song for my Jeep, and it was probably gonna be there's a song called a rap called Bad and Bougie. But honestly, there's been an artist recently that quite a few songs kind of relate to me, even as far as like my looks go. His name's Bryce Savage. I think there's a song it's called like Long Hair and Tattoos, and it's like every little thing about that like matches up to me almost perfectly. It's kind of weird.
Well, awesome. You did it. Great job.
Yay. Amazing.
All right, guys. Yeah, that was fun. Hopefully you guys got a lot from that. And man, she's just doing so many cool things. And I'm excited to see this new reveal and the Burnout Baddie. And maybe I'll go do a Burnout Fergie. I don't know. We'll see. But I hope you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks, guys. Till next time.